So a couple weeks ago, I was on a call with a friend. Shocking, I know. I actually have friends. So a couple weeks ago, I was on a call with a friend and we were just catching up. I was telling him how excited I was to be getting back into YouTube and finally making the content that I know I was meant to make. And then he asked me a question that honestly blew me away. He said, "So what is your goal with all this content? What are you bringing to the table that is so unique? Why is your content one of a kind?" And this didn't surprise me because it was an odd question or it came out of nowhere, but rather because the answer that came out of my mouth was something I didn't even consciously know was an end goal for me. Here's what I said in a nutshell. With the crazy amount of commercialization and industrialization that we see in the world around us, I feel like we've forgotten the real reason why we create the things that we do. And I think it's my calling to remind the art community of this reason. So in today's video, we are going to explore the question, why do we create the things that we do? If this subject interests you, then please remember to leave me a big thumbs up and subscribe down below so I know to make more of this kind of content. But with all of that said, let us now dive into the many reasons that we, humans in general, are so creative.
Here's the thing. All of my formal education has been scientific. I hold a bachelor's degree in neuroscience, which is about as sciencey as it gets. For all intents and purposes, I was an academic scientist. And yet, the complete lack of creative freedom in the field of neuroscience caused me to fall into a deep, dark depression. I didn't know it at the time, but the reason nothing was going well for me was because I wasn't truly meant to live the rest of my life as a scientist. Art, on the other hand, literally entered my life out of nowhere. When I was 16, someone told me I couldn't draw, and being the stubborn Taurus that I am, I watched a bunch of speed drawing videos on YouTube and literally drew my first ever portrait in a couple of hours. That was 9 years ago, and look at where we are today, all because someone told me I couldn't do something and I was too stubborn to agree. Why am I telling you all of this? Just to show you that when it came to art, I was basically as new to it and as inexperienced as anyone could ever be. Everything I know about art has come to me intuitively, including which skills I need to work on, what courses to take, which styles to master, and what to try next. And luckily for us, today we have the extraordinary ability to learn from some of the best artists in the world thanks to the internet. But back in the days of the old masters, things were rather different. If you wanted to be an artist, you had to start very, very young, go through years of grueling training, be an apprentice for a really long time, and then, if you were lucky, you'd achieve mastery. Not to mention, the mediums available to these artists were severely limited, mostly just oil paint and charcoal. And once you were officially done with your training, you were pretty much on your own. No one told you how to get commissioned or how to run an independent business or how to best sort out your finances or how to price your work. All of that was intuitive. But people have been drawing, painting, creating music and dancing way before these endeavors were ever commercialized. I'm talking about cave paintings, tribal dances, and other creative things they show you in the museums. So why did they create? based on the cave paintings from prehistoric times, or even art on ancient Egyptian tombs and monuments. A lot of painting and hieroglyphics were used in order to record events that occurred. We can assume they didn't have Wikipedia back then, or even history books. Most of the art and writing was done on stone because these ancient civilizations knew that stone would hold imprints for the longest time possible, allowing many future generations a glimpse into their reality. But today we have an entire news media industry, as well as several historical museums, libraries, and galleries around the world to store these historical events for us. Not to mention, the internet is a wonderful tool that allows regular people like you and me to store our own personal histories. And thanks to Facebook, we even have the ability to cringe at our historical proclamations from 2011 AD. So, if historical preservation is taken care of, why do we still create? If we move forward a little bit in time, art and music changed from purely historical preservation to also preserving personal, beautiful moments that people wanted to remember forever. The vast majority of paintings and ballads from the Renaissance era show us that now that people had systems in place to document global historical events, art was starting to become more personal. People were now having portraits of themselves, their children, their pets, or even their homes professionally painted and hanging them up on walls. Artists themselves were capturing beautiful people and places they saw on their travels down on paper or on canvas. But again, today we have cameras and mobile phones and audio recorders that do the job. I'm not saying technology will ever replace the hand of the artist, but you have to admit it does get the job done. You see something interesting, you whip out your phone, you take a picture, you send it on your Snapchat group. That's how things work today. If we only created in order to preserve fond memories, we have more efficient, longer-lasting digital means to do the same thing today. So why do we still create? A huge purpose of art and creativity in any form has been to tell stories. These stories used to be passed down through generations, each iteration adding a new detail to the story. Religion is a great example of this. Now, bear in mind, this is not a religious discourse at all. Please don't take it that way. But when we do look at a lot of religious beliefs around the world, these all come from stories that our ancestors have passed down to us. Look at the Sistine Chapel, one of the greatest pieces of art the world has ever seen. While the ceiling was famously repainted by Michelangelo, the chapel itself consists of many amazing paintings and depictions of biblical stories from many different artists. If you look at hymns and prayers, these are all lyrical and poetic interpretations of religious scripture and are all an integral part of most faiths. In modern times, storytelling is usually done through movies and television, as well as books and music. There are many multi-billion-dollar giants in the entertainment industry who have pretty much mastered the art of storytelling through visual, written, and musical masterpieces. These people know their stuff and hire only the best of the best. So if we have these content machines that churn out new stories as well as remastered old ones, why do regular folks like you and I still create? And over the course of the last 9 years, I have come to find that the answer to this question is extremely simple. We create because we can. Before we dive into part 2, I want to give a quick shout out to my Patreon page where I'm going to be sharing most of my new art from this point on. As my patrons, not only do you get early access to every one of these videos, you also get to download the art from each video, including this one, and even wallpapers and printable versions that you can have on your PC or your phone or even up in your room. Plus, I share some cool fan art and behind-the-scenes posts, as well as Patreon-only paintings from my own personal art collection. Your support would mean the whole world to me, and it helps me keep making all this fun content for you. So check out patreon.com/SrishCreate, link is in the description. Alright, back to your regularly scheduled video. I touched on this a little bit in my video about turning a bad project around, but Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, was what really opened my eyes to the concept of ideas. Elizabeth proposes the theory that ideas are these amorphous, conscious thought forms, these entities almost, that float around our world invisible to the naked eye. When we are in sync, or in the flow state, as you may know it, this idea that's floating around finds us and enters our brain, making itself known in the form of a light bulb moment. Now, an idea isn't limited in the sense that it doesn't just approach one person. The same idea may enter the brains of multiple people, but those of us who have the extraordinary ability to create anything in any form have this ability because we have taken the initiative to learn just one simple, crucial skill. That is the skill of translation. You see, anyone can have a splendid idea. Like I mentioned, the ideas are all around us, and when we're in a receptive state of mind, the ideas will undoubtedly enter our brains. That's the easy part. So anyone can have an idea, but it takes experience and competence and passion to translate this idea to a real thing in the 3D world around us. As creators, we spend years and years working so hard to learn and hone our skill and our craft, not realizing that it's all focused on one single purpose: translation. In fact, the process of translation varies from artist to artist, which is what gives rise to every creator's unique signature. It's like the Laurel and Yanny audio clip.
Laurel, Laurel, Laurel.
What we heard depended on our own brain's translating ability from what our ears received, right? So naturally, even if several different creators get hit with the same idea, the outcome of it will be completely unique to every creator because each of us translates the ideas in the same way. This, by the way, really helped me get over my mental block of everything has already been done, what am I adding to the conversation? As a creator, if you look at yourself as merely a translator of wonderful ideas, a channel for an amorphous entity to take shape through, not only does it help you realize that for as long as you create, you will never run out of ideas, this also takes away the pressure of having to force new concept out of our own limited conscious minds. Ask any artist who works commercially and they'll tell you that while the commissions and contract projects fill our pockets, true fulfillment usually comes from personal work. Now, that's not to say that commercial work isn't fulfilling, it is, but a lot of the times you're hired as an artist based on the skills and knowledge you already possess. Translating the ideas that come to you on your own time, however, helps you gain skills and knowledge you never even knew existed in this world. But when all is said and done, where does this theory place self-expression? After all, a lot of artists start painting or acting or singing as a way to express their emotions. So if all we're doing is translating an external idea, where does that leave self-expression? Remember when I said ideas only really approach us when we're in the flow state? Well, I believe, and this is just my theory, so only take it if it resonates with you, I believe that any emotion, if we feel it deeply enough, It can throw us into the state of flow. Kind of like in Avatar, when Aang was severely sad or powerful or angry, he would transcend into the Avatar state, right? Similarly, I think our most powerful emotions, be it joy, depression, stress, whatever, these can push us into a state of flow. And that state has a powerful emotional signature or frequency, which brings to it ideas that resonate at the same frequency. For instance, being in an angry mood makes me reach for vibrant colors and hard brush strokes, whereas being happy has me reaching for pastels and low contrast work. Very different emotional imprints, though I'm still the same person receiving the same ideas. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that these ideas, though I initially made them sound like these external flashes of insight, these ideas are actually just an abstract, amplified version of what we are feeling, echoed back to us from the vast universe. And as a creator who is familiar with the exact emotion and the motivation behind it, as well as the skills you've worked on so much, you feel a strong calling to shape this idea into a concept that can be consumed by the rest of the world. In other words, you possess this unique ability to translate these ideas from thought form to physical form. And that is what makes you a creator. While our ancestors may have created in order to survive and pass on information, today we are lucky enough to live in a world where all of these necessities are already taken care of. And that allows you and me the freedom to create whatever we want, simply because we can.
And that is exactly why I created this video. It's been on my mind for quite a while now, and I know it's not the most tutorial-y videos, but I felt this like strange calling to create this because I feel like someone out there, hopefully a bunch of you, needed to hear this. So I do hope it finds you when you need to hear it most. Thanks so much for sticking around and for all the love and comments and subscriptions on all my other videos. I am so grateful that you chose to hang out with me today. I hope it's been as much fun for you as it was for me. If there are any other cool topics you want me to explore, feel free to leave them down below and I'm more than happy to translate it for all of us. And with all of that said, thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!